The galaxy had always wondered about Earth. Hundreds of years ago, the Galactic Council tried to contact humanity. They sent envoys, messages, and even threats, but no reply came. Other young species bowed to the Council. Some begged for protection, and many were forced into obedience. Humanity did nothing. They simply ignored the calls. At first, aliens thought humans were slow and weak, a people too primitive to even understand the signals. But centuries passed, and Earth stayed silent. That silence became a shadow across the stars. The council chamber often echoed with laughter when Earth's name was spoken. The elders mocked the humans. "They are children playing with fire," one alien minister said. "They will burn themselves before they ever learn." Records showed Earth launching small ships, satellites, and early colonies. But then the report stopped. It seemed the humans gave up on space. Other species moved forward, expanding into empires, while Earth remained quiet. Yet not everyone believed the story. A few voices whispered that something was wrong. "No species remains silent for 300 years, said an old commander, "unless they have a reason." His words were ignored. In the border systems near Sol, alien traders sometimes reported strange sightings. A flash of light in the void, the sudden loss of a probe, a shadow across their scanners. But nothing ever returned to prove it. Most dismissed the tales as lies told by smugglers. Still, the rumors spread like fire among the common people. Some said Earth was dead, destroyed by its own weapons. Others said humanity had gone to war with itself and wiped out all life. A few believed something worse, that Earth was not weak at all, but hiding. The turning point came when the Varick Dominion, proud and arrogant, sent a new probe into Sol. It was a sleek craft, fast and equipped with the latest stealth tech. They broadcast the event live, showing their confidence. The Council watched the probe enter the solar system. For 3 days, signals came back clearly. They showed Jupiter, Saturn, the rings, and the frozen moons. On the 4th day, the feed cut to static. The Varick engineers tried everything to reconnect, but nothing worked. Then one final image reached them. It was blurred and distorted, but clear enough to cause fear. A shadow stretched across the stars, vast and sharp-edged, before the signal vanished forever. The chamber of the Council grew tense. For the first time in centuries, the word Earth was spoken with unease. Ministers argued, some calling the image fake, others demanding war fleets to investigate. But no decision was made. Instead, a quiet order went out to all member races. Observe Sul, report anything unusual. Dozens of probes were launched in secret. None returned. In the following months, whispers grew louder. Freight ships on long routes claimed to see movements in deep space, dark shapes passing without a trace. A mining colony near Orion reported power failures whenever strange lights appeared above the horizon. The Council dismissed these reports, but fear had already entered their hearts. Something was happening in the dark, and humanity's silence no longer felt like weakness. It felt like a threat. On the edge of Council space, a lone scout ship detected unusual energy readings. The crew thought it was just another broken star. But when they looked closer, their blood ran cold. Across their screens stretched a wall of energy, steady and powerful, moving in formation. At first, they thought it was a storm of meteors. Then the shapes became clearer. Hulls of metal, black and endless, each larger than any known warship. They were moving together, silent, without a single broadcast. The captain froze as he realized what they were seeing. Ships, thousands of ships. Their hulls bore no alien markings, no flags, nothing but the cold design of purpose. The formation stretched so far that it blotted out the stars. The crew tried to flee, but their engines faltered. A signal hit their systems, simple and absolute, locking their ship in place. Across the darkness, one massive vessel turned, its angles sharp, its engines glowing faint blue. A single human symbol lit its hull, the mark of Earth. The crew screamed into their radios, trying to warn the Council. Their voices were filled with terror, but only fragments made it through. Fleet, endless, Soln, humanity, then silence. The council chamber received the broken transmission and watched the final image, the shadow of a colossal warship sliding past the scout's view. So close, its armor reflected the stars like a black mirror. Then the screen went dark. The chamber erupted in chaos. Some shouted to prepare fleets, others demanded peace. But one truth hung heavy in the air. Humanity had not disappeared. Humanity had not gone silent by accident. They had been building, waiting, preparing. And now, after 300 years of silence, they were moving. The last words of the scout echoed across the chamber like thunder. Humanity was coming back to the galaxy, and they were not coming with a whisper. They were coming with 1,000 warships. The Galactic Council Chamber stood as one of the largest structures in the galaxy, a vast circle of crystal and steel where the leaders of hundreds of species gathered to make decisions. On this day, the air was heavy with fear. The emergency beacon from the scout ship had reached them, and though the message was broken, everyone had heard the words. A fleet, thousands of ships, human warships. At first, the chamber erupted with laughter, forced and nervous. "Impossible," said a Varic minister, his scaled face curling into a sneer. "Humans could never build one dreadnought, let alone thousands." His voice was loud, but his eyes betrayed his fear. Another elder pounded the table, insisting it was a trick. The image was forged. Perhaps the Corrin Empire wishes to frighten us. Yet the images replayed on the central screen, dark hulls moving in perfect silence, a wall of ships blotting out the stars. One by one, the laughter died. Silence returned, thick and tense. Ministers turned to the council chair, an ancient alien whose skin shimmered silver. His voice, calm but sharp, echoed through the chamber. "We mocked them for centuries. We ignored the silence of Earth. Now their silence has become our nightmare." Arguments broke out at once. Some demanded the council launch fleets to investigate. "We must strike now," a general roared, "before they strike us." Others warned against aggression. "If that fleet is real, then war will end us all." The debate grew heated, voices overlapping, claws and fists pounding on tables. The Chamber of Unity became a storm of panic. Meanwhile, hidden in the shadows of the hall, a lone intelligence officer stepped forward. She placed a small device on the floor, and the hologram rose above the chamber. It showed the star maps of the Orion Arm. The markers glowed red, one after another, systems reporting interference, missing probes, dead signals. Dozens of lights blinked out. Gasps filled the chamber as the pattern became clear. The interference was not random. It was moving in a wave, pushing slowly, deliberately, toward the heart of council space. "This cannot be chance," the officer said. Her voice shook. "This is a fleet. This is a march." The chamber fell quiet again. Ministers stared at the map, their faces pale. Even the most arrogant among them could not deny the truth now. Humanity was advancing. They had ignored the galaxy for centuries, but now they were coming back, and they were coming in force. Just then, the chamber shook. The walls of crystal trembled, as if struck by a great hand. Lights flickered, and every leader turned toward the sky. For a moment, fear gripped them, that humanity's fleet had already arrived. But it was not warships above. It was a signal. The sound tore through the chamber, not words at first, but a low rumble that made the walls vibrate. Then a voice, deep and human, filled every corner of the hall. The translation system struggled, but the words were clear. "We are coming home." The silence afterward was heavier than any explosion. Leaders stared at one another, too stunned to speak. Every species had its own languages, tones and sounds, but those 4 words needed no explanation. They were not a request. They were not a warning. They were a promise. Panic erupted. Some screamed for war, others demanded surrender. A few fainted where they stood. Guards rushed in trying to control the chaos, but the chamber became a storm of fear. Species that once mocked humanity now begged for plans of defense. Admirals scrambled to contact their fleets. Ministers whispered of evacuation from the capital. The chair raised his hand, calling for order. His voice, though trembling, cut through the noise. "We must decide now. Do we fight or do we beg for peace?" Before any vote could be taken, the screens across the chamber lit up once more. A second signal arrived. This time it was not a voice but an image. Against the black of space, a single warship turned slowly, its hull glimmering with blue light. It was massive, larger than anything the Council had ever seen. Its engines burned bright, and across its armored side was a simple mark, the symbol of Earth. The image zoomed out, and behind that ship, more appeared. Dozens, then hundreds, then thousands, all aligned in silence. The chamber gasped as the screen filled with the sight of a fleet so vast it seemed endless. The ships did not fire, they did not speak. They only drifted forward in formation, like hunters stalking prey. The council chamber froze. For the first time in centuries, no one spoke. No minister laughed, no general roared. Every leader stared at the screen, and the truth sank into their hearts. Humanity was not a forgotten species. They were not weak. They had grown in the shadows, and now they returned. The image ended, and the screen went black. The silence lingered like death. Then a single line of text appeared across the chamber walls. It was in every language at once, translated perfectly. As if humanity had known all tongues from the beginning, the words burned into every mind. Prepare yourselves. The lights dimmed, and the chamber plunged into darkness. The council wasted no time. Dozens of fleets were dispatched to the border systems near Orion, where humanity's advance was rumored. The alien admirals moved with pride, their warships stretching across the stars, banners glowing, weapons charged. Confidence filled their voices. They had ruled the galaxy for centuries, crushed rebellions, ended empires. To them, humanity was nothing more than a forgotten race returning too late. On the command bridge of one alien dreadnought, the officers spoke with certainty. "We will stop them before they reach the capital," one said. "Let the humans learn what true war means." Their words stirred courage, but deep inside, every officer felt unease. The images of the human fleet still haunted them. The silence, the shadows, the endless hulls. Yet they pushed their fears aside, trusting in numbers and tradition. The fleet spread into formation. Thousands of alien ships gathered at the edge of a cold, dying star. It was the perfect trap. Any human force passing through would be caught between overlapping arcs of fire. Admirals shouted orders, their voices steady. Across the galaxy, the Council watched live feeds, determined to show the galaxy that humanity was nothing but myth. The silence stretched for hours. No human ships appeared. Some began to laugh again, calling it false alarms. "They will not come," a general sneered. "They fear us." But then the void shifted. At first, it was only a ripple, a faint distortion in the black. Then another ripple, then dozens. The space before them split open. One by one, giant ships emerged. Their hulls were dark and sharp, their engines glowing faint blue. No banners, no signals, no words, only silence. The formation was perfect, precise, unshaken. The alien crews froze as the scale became clear. These were not small fleets. Hundreds of human ships now stood before them, and more poured in with every second. The first instinct of the alien admirals was to demand communication. "Hail them," one ordered. The signals went out, flashing across the void. No reply came. The humans moved closer, slow and steady, like predators circling prey. Their hulls reflected the light of the dying star, casting shadows across the alien fleet. Fear spread. One captain whispered, "They are not answering." "Why are they not answering?" Another officer shouted for weapons to be primed. The admirals hesitated. The silence was crushing. Finally, one admiral snapped, "Fire!" The alien fleet unleashed its fury. Plasma beams, missiles, and energy storms filled the void, crashing into the human formation. The darkness lit up with fire. For a moment the council cheered, believing victory was at hand. But as the smoke cleared, their joy turned to horror. The human ships were untouched. Their shields shimmered faintly, absorbing the full storm, as if it were nothing more than rain falling on stone. Not one hull was cracked, not one ship destroyed. The alien crews stared in disbelief. "Impossible," they cried. "Nothing survives that." Then a signal came from the humans. It was not a message of war. It was only two words, spoken calmly, translated into every tongue. "Leave now!" The alien admirals laughed nervously. "They think they can scare us with words." They ordered a second wave of fire, this one stronger, more desperate. Again the void filled with chaos. Again the human ships stood untouched. Their shields glowed brighter, their hulls unmoved. Panic spread through the alien crews. Some ships faltered, retreating. Others froze, unable to fire again. The admirals shouted for discipline, but their voices shook with fear. The silence of the humans was more terrifying than any weapon. Then the lights inside the alien ships began to flicker. One by one, systems failed. Weapons went offline, shields collapsed, engines died. Bridges filled with alarms, officers screaming as their consoles turned dark. No attack had come, no visible weapon fired. The human fleet had simply reached into their systems and shut them down. The dreadnought commander slammed his fists against the console. "They control us," he cried. "They can kill us without firing a shot." His words echoed across the fleet, fear rising like a wave. On the screens, the human ships glowed brighter, their engines shifting as they moved closer. They did not fire. They only advanced, calm, unshaken. The silence grew unbearable. At last, one alien ship managed to send a desperate message to the Council. The Admiral's face was pale, his voice broken. "We cannot fight them. They are beyond us. If they wish to destroy us, they will. This is not war. This is judgment." The message cut off as the alien ship went dark, drifting powerless through the void. The Council chamber fell silent as the last image appeared across every screen. A single human warship turned its hull, showing its mark. The symbol of Earth, glowing like fire against the endless black. The transmission ended. The galaxy trembled. Humanity had given its first command. The human fleet stopped moving, as if waiting for something, as if the galaxy's fate hung in the silence of their next choice. The alien fleets drifted in silence, their systems dead, their weapons cold. Across the void, the human warships floated like shadows, massive and unmoved. No shot had been fired, yet thousands of ships now lay powerless, trapped in the dark. Panic filled the alien crews. Officers shouted, engineers worked desperately to restart engines, but nothing answered. Every command failed. It was as if invisible hands gripped their vessels, holding them in place. The dreadnought commander slammed his fists against the console, but his voice trembled. "They have us. They control us." Around him his officers stared at the dark screens, their eyes wide with fear. One whispered, "How can they do this? No empire has ever held power like this." In orbit of a nearby colony world, civilians looked up at the night sky. From the ground, they could see strange lights spreading across the heavens, flickering like silent storms. Then their own city went dark. Power plants shut down, weapons platforms flickered off, and even simple devices failed. Entire cities plunged into silence. Fear spread through the population. Rumors ran wild that humanity had returned, not with fleets, but with powers beyond imagination. On the Council world, messages poured into the chamber. Our fleets are disabled. Our colonies are powerless. Systems are shutting down. Each report grew more desperate. The leaders argued, but none had answers. They had mocked Earth for centuries, but now Earth's shadow stretched across the stars, shutting down everything in its path. The Council chair tried to calm the hall. "Perhaps they do not wish to destroy us. They could have killed us already. Perhaps they only wished to show strength." His words were thin and no one believed them. The silence of the humans felt more deadly than any attack. Suddenly a new transmission arrived. It was not from a fleet or a colony. It came directly from the humans. The Council chamber shook as the signal poured through. The voice was calm, deep, unhurried. "This was only a warning. Do not test us again." The words froze, every leader where they sat. A warning. Nothing more. Yet the power behind it was enough to silence the galaxy. If this was a warning, what would war look like? Across the disabled fleets, the alien crews watched in terror as the human ships began to move again. Slowly, one by one, the black vessels drifted apart, their engines glowing with quiet blue fire. They did not strike. They did not destroy, they only left, moving with perfect formation, vanishing back into the void. Then, as suddenly as it began, power returned to the alien ships. Consoles blinked alive, engines roared, weapons charged. The fleets were free again, but the damage was done. Their pride was broken. Their courage shattered. Whispers spread among the officers. Some begged to retreat at once. Others argued to chase the humans, to strike them while they were near. But none dared fire again. Every admiral knew the truth. If humanity wished, none of them would be alive to argue. In the council chamber, silence lingered long after the message ended. Ministers sat frozen, their minds filled with fear. For generations, they had spoken of Earth as a joke, a backward world unworthy of the stars. Now Earth had returned, and the galaxy itself trembled. Then another report arrived, one that chilled them further. Across several star systems, strange signals had been detected. They were not attacks, but coordinates. When decoded, they revealed a path, a line of stars leading directly toward the council capital. Humanity was not finished. They were moving forward. The chair gripped the table, his voice breaking. "They are coming here!" The chamber erupted again, some screaming for war, others for surrender. Fleets were ordered to regroup. Defenses were raised around the capital. Civilians whispered in the streets, fear running through the cities. The galaxy had never faced a threat like this. Meanwhile, in the dark between stars, the human fleet gathered once more. Their numbers grew, ship after ship joining the formation. Hidden colonies, long unseen, revealed their power. From every corner of space, human vessels rose, converging like rivers into a sea. Their silence was not weakness. It was preparation. On the bridge of one alien listening post, an officer stared at his scanner. His hands shook as he read the results. Thousands of signals. Not hundreds. Not even thousands. More. He turned to his commander, his face pale. "This is not a fleet. This is an armada." The commander froze. Outside the window, the first wave of human warships passed silently, their shadows blotting out the stars. Then another wave followed, and another, stretching as far as the eye could see. The officer whispered, "We marked them. Now the galaxy will pay the price." The feed cut off before the council could respond. The last image they saw was endless. Human warships covering the void, their hulls reflecting the light of distant stars. Cliffhanger. At the center of the formation, a single giant ship turned, its engines burning brighter than the rest. It was headed straight for the council capital. The battlefield was silent. Alien warships floated like dead husks, their engines dark, their weapons useless. Crews panicked inside, shouting at dark consoles, begging their systems to respond. Nothing worked. It was as if invisible chains bound every vessel in place. Across from them, the human fleet loomed. Their warships drifted in perfect lines, engines glowing faint blue, weapons quiet. They had not fired a single shot, yet they had won the battle without effort. Inside one alien dreadnought, the commander's face twisted with disbelief. "They have shut us down," he whispered. "They hold our lives in their hands." Engineers sweated at their posts, trying override codes, emergency restarts, even manual triggers. None worked. The dreadnought was nothing more than a coffin, drifting in space. On a nearby colony world, civilians stared at the night sky. Strange lights danced across the heavens, and then, without warning, their cities went dark. Power plants shut down, defense turrets went offline, even their smallest devices flickered out. Entire settlements froze in fear. The silence spread across the streets like a shadow. People whispered that humanity had returned, and they had come not with words, but with power unlike anything seen before. At the council capital, alarms blared as report after report arrived. Entire fleets disabled, colonies powerless, systems shutting down. Ministers shouted across the chamber, some demanding immediate retaliation, others screaming to surrender. The chair raised a trembling hand for silence, his voice thin but steady. "They could have destroyed us. They did not. Perhaps they only wished to show their strength." No one believed him. The silence of the humans felt sharper than a blade. Then the council chamber shook. Not from attack, but from a signal that filled every speaker, every wall, every translation system across the galaxy. A voice, deep and calm, rang out in every tongue. This was only a warning. Do not test us again, the words froze every leader. A warning, nothing more. Yet that warning carried more weight than any weapon. Entire empires trembled. If this was only a warning, what would true war look like? In the void, the human ships shifted formation. Slowly, with eerie precision, they began to turn away. They did not fire, did not pursue. They simply left. One by one, they slid back into the dark, vanishing beyond scanners. Then, just as suddenly as it had been taken, power returned to the alien fleets. Controls lit up, engines roared, weapons flickered back to life. Relief swept through the alien crews, but it was hollow. Every admiral knew the truth. Their fleets were alive only because the humans allowed it. Back at the council chamber, chaos erupted once more. Ministers shouted for fleets to regroup, for defenses to be raised. Generals demanded new weapons, but their voices shook with fear. They all knew that no weapon they possessed could match what they had seen. Then a new report arrived, carried on weak signals from distant systems. Strange transmissions had been detected, coordinates repeating again and again. When decoded, they formed a path, a trail of stars leading in one direction. Straight to the council capital. The chair's voice cracked as he read the final line. "They are coming here!" Panic exploded. Some ministers screamed to abandon the capital, to flee to hidden worlds. Others demanded peace at any cost. A few shouted that humanity must be destroyed, though their faces betrayed their own terror. Civilians outside the chamber already whispered of the end, their eyes turning to the skies above their world, waiting for the shadows to arrive. Far away, in the deep black of uncharted space, the human fleet gathered again. New warships emerged from hidden colonies, their hulls gleaming in the starlight. The fleet grew, thousands turning into more, stretching across the void like an endless storm. They moved with no haste, no sound, only silence. The silence was more terrifying than any roar. On the bridge of an alien listening post, an officer stared at his scanner in disbelief. The numbers kept climbing, more ships than he had ever seen. His lips trembled as he whispered to his commander, "This is not a fleet. This is an armada." The commander turned to the viewport. Outside, the first wave of human warships slid past, each so massive it dwarfed their station. Behind them came another wave and another, blotting out the stars. The officer felt his chest tighten. "We mocked them for centuries. Now the galaxy will pay." The transmission cut off. The last image that reached the council showed the human fleet stretching into infinity, their dark hulls glowing faintly, their engines burning like cold fire. At the center of the armada, one colossal ship turned, its engines brighter than all the rest. Its course was clear, straight for the council capital. The council chamber froze in silence as the reality sank in. Humanity was not finished. They were only beginning. The galaxy had never seen such a sight. From the edge of Sul to the farthest colonies, human warships poured into space. They moved like a single being, their formations precise, their silence unbroken. Each vessel was massive, black and sharp, bristling with weapons unknown to the council. Together they stretched across the void, in numbers no one could count. They were not a fleet. They were a tide. On Earth, the blue planet glowed in the heart of it all. Above its skies, thousands of warships formed a shield, their shadows blotting out the sun. For centuries, Earth had been mocked as primitive and ignored as weak. Now it stood at the center of a power so vast, the stars themselves seemed to bend beneath it. The Council had thought humanity gone, but humanity had been preparing all along. Alien broadcasts showed the images across every world. Citizens watched with wide eyes as Earth's armada took shape. Some gasped in fear, others whispered in awe. In the council chamber, silence reigned. The leaders stared at the projection, their faces pale. "They are countless," one minister whispered. "Not even our combined fleets could match them." Then the feeds shifted. The human fleet began to move. At first, slowly, their engines burning a soft blue. Then as one, the 1,000 warships aligned into a single formation. Their hulls glowed with faint symbols. Their weapons hummed with restrained power. The entire galaxy watched as the march began. Humanity was advancing. The course was clear. Not toward border worlds, not toward minor colonies, but toward the galactic capital itself. Panic spread like wildfire. Civilizations begged the Council for protection, but the ministers themselves were helpless. Their fleets had been humiliated, their weapons useless, their pride shattered. Against the march of 1,000 warships there was no defense. Inside the capital, soldiers rushed to prepare. Shields were raised, orbital guns armed, and planetary defenses activated. The skies filled with the glow of battle stations. But even as they prepared, doubt spread among the ranks. Every soldier had seen the recordings. Every officer knew the truth. If humanity wished, no wall could hold them. On a distant moon, an alien child asked his father a question that echoed across countless homes. "Why are the humans coming?" The father had no answer. None in the galaxy did. The humans had not declared war. They had not explained themselves. They had only spoken once, with words that still chilled the stars. "We are coming home." Back in the void, the human fleet pressed forward. Scouts tried to shadow them, but were blinded by strange fields. Probes were sent, but they never returned. The humans revealed nothing, spoke nothing. Their silence was worse than threats. It was the silence of hunters, the silence of judgment. On the bridge of the largest human vessel, armored figures stood like statues. They spoke softly, their voices calm, unhurried. The galaxy mocked us. Now they will see. Their eyes were fixed on the hologram of the capital, glowing like prey in the dark. Meanwhile, in the council chamber, the ministers argued. Some demanded to launch every remaining fleet in one final stand. Others begged to open communications to plead for peace. The chair, pale and trembling, tried to steady his voice. "We must wait. We must understand what they want," but his words were drowned by fear. No one believed humanity had returned only for words. As the fleet drew closer, colonies along the path began to shake. Entire systems went dark as human signals shut down defenses, weapons, and power grids. They did not fire. They only passed, silent and unstoppable. Wherever they went, shadows followed. Citizens stared upward as human warships blotted out their skies, only to move on without a word. Each world they left behind whispered the same thing. They could have destroyed us. They chose not to. Why? The closer they came to the capital, the louder the fear grew. The galaxy itself seemed to hold its breath. Could this be war, or was something else at play? Finally, the human fleet entered the last stretch of space before the capital. The skies of the homeworld filled with defense ships, guns, and shields glowing bright. Millions of soldiers stood ready, their hands shaking on weapons they knew would not matter. Civilians packed into shelters, their eyes turned toward the heavens. Then the first wave of human ships emerged from the dark. Their hulls filled the sky, their shadows blanketing the world below. The citizens screamed, the soldiers trembled, the ministers froze. Humanity had arrived. The lead human ship broke formation, moving toward the capital directly. It slowed, turned, and prepared to descend. And for the first time in 3 centuries, human soldiers prepared to step into the Council's heart. The skies above the galactic capital had never been darker. Where once the sun glowed on silver towers and crystal spires, now the light was blotted out by shadow. Human warships filled the heavens, thousands of them, drifting silently in formation. Their engines glowed faint blue, casting an eerie light across the city below. Citizens crowded the streets, staring upward in fear. Children clung to parents, soldiers stood frozen at checkpoints, and leaders inside the council chamber sat pale and silent. Across the planet, defenses had been raised. Orbital guns, planetary shields, and fleets waited above the atmosphere. Yet no one dared fire. Every soldier had seen the reports of disabled fleets and powerless colonies. Every admiral knew that if humanity chose, not one shot would reach its mark. Still, the galaxy's proud capital braced itself for war, even while trembling in silence. Then the lead human warship broke formation. The colossal vessel drifted lower, its hull reflecting the city lights. Its engines roared softly, a hum that made the ground shake. All eyes followed its descent. Alien civilians screamed, some fled into shelters, others fell to their knees in despair. But the humans did not fire. They slowed, controlled calm. From the ship's belly, a single transport broke away. Smaller than the warships, but still larger than any vessel most had ever seen, it descended like a falling star. Defense systems locked on, alarms rang, but no shots were fired. The transport pierced the skies and came to rest on the Council's landing platform, a place where no outsider had ever set foot without permission. Guards rushed forward, weapons raised, but their hands shook. The transport opened with a hiss, steam spilling into the air. The crowd held its breath. Slowly, figures emerged. They were human soldiers, tall, armored faces hidden behind black visors. Their armor was simple but powerful, lined with faint blue lights. They carried no rifles, no blades, no weapons at all. Yet their silence and their presence alone felt heavier than steel. The soldiers moved in formation, unhurried, unshaken. Each step echoed on the platform, a sound that spread chills through every guard and minister watching. They were not here to fight. They were here to make a statement. The council chamber doors opened, and the humans walked inside. Ministers stared, some whispering prayers, others frozen in terror. Guards pointed weapons but dared not fire. The silence grew unbearable. The humans marched straight to the center of the chamber, their armor glinting under the glow of the star maps. Then one soldier stepped forward. He carried no flag, no weapon, only a small object. Slowly, he placed it on the central table. The device flickered, then came alive. A hologram projected upward, glowing in blue light. It was Earth. The image expanded, showing not just the planet, but fleets surrounding it, colonies scattered across the stars, hidden outposts long unknown. Lines connected them, forming a web of power stretching across the galaxy. The ministers gasped, realizing the truth. Humanity had not been silent because they were weak. They had been silent because they were everywhere. The hologram grew brighter, revealing fleets hidden in distant systems, far beyond council control. Entire sectors glowed red, marked with the symbol of Earth. Whispers spread like fire through the chamber. They have colonies. They have fleets in every arm. They were never alone. The chair struggled to speak, his voice breaking. "What do you want from us?" For the first time, a human soldier spoke. His voice was calm, deep, and carried across the hall without effort. "We asked for peace. You gave us mockery. We asked for silence. You gave us threats. Now we return not as beggars, but as guardians." The words echoed like thunder, silencing every whisper. Guardians, not conquerors, not destroyers. Yet the presence of the armada outside made the word more terrifying than any declaration of war. The ministers shifted nervously. Some tried to argue, others tried to plead, but their voices died under the heavy silence. The humans stood unmoving, their black visors hiding whatever thoughts lay behind them. Then the hologram shifted again. The image of Earth vanished, replaced by something else. It was the galactic capital itself, shown from above, surrounded by a glowing red outline. The chamber gasped. The humans were not just showing power, they were showing what came next. The soldier raised his head, his visor catching the chamber light. His voice came again, steady and absolute. "Decide, submit to peace, or face judgment." The chamber fell into stunned silence. Every leader, every general, every minister stared at the glowing image of their own world, trapped in humanity's red mark. Outside, the 1,000 warships shifted formation, their weapons glowing faintly for the first time. The skies above the capital blazed with cold fire as the galaxy held its breath. The chamber of the Galactic Council was frozen in silence. Every alien leader, minister, and general stared at the glowing hologram that hovered over the center table. It was their world, the capital itself, surrounded by a red mark projected by the humans. Outside, through the crystal walls, the shadows of 1,000 warships loomed in the skies. their weapons glowing faintly for the first time. The human soldiers stood unmoving in the center of the hall, their armor black, their visors reflecting the light of the hologram. They carried no weapons, but their silence was more powerful than any blade. One had spoken already, his words ringing like thunder, "Submit to peace or face judgment." The ministers whispered among themselves, their voices cracking with fear. Some urged surrender at once. "They are beyond us. We cannot resist." Others argued through clenched jaws. "If we give in, then all empires will fall. We must fight." Their words were hollow, and they knew it. Every eye kept drifting back to the skies outside, where the human armada waited like a predator circling prey. Then the hologram shifted again. The red outline of the capital faded, and a new image appeared. It showed the galaxy itself, vast and sprawling star systems glowing like tiny sparks. Slowly, dozens of points turned blue. Then hundreds, then thousands. A wave of blue spread across the map until entire arms of the galaxy glowed with the mark of Earth. Gasps filled the chamber. The revelation struck like a hammer. Humanity had not only built fleets, they had built an empire in silence. For centuries, while the Council mocked their absence, humanity had spread into the dark, colonizing, fortifying, and preparing. And they had done it unseen, hidden under the arrogance of others who never thought to look. The chair of the Council slumped in his seat, his silver skin pale. His voice was barely more than a whisper. How did we not see this? The human soldier stepped forward. For the first time, he lifted his visor. A human face stared back at them. His eyes were steady, his expression calm. When he spoke, his voice carried not just into the chamber, but across every screen connected to the Council network. "You never saw because you never looked. You mocked us. You dismissed us. While you wasted centuries fighting among yourselves, we built in silence." The alien leaders shifted in their seats, some lowering their heads in shame, others glaring with fear and hatred. The soldier's voice grew sharper. "You thought us weak. But we are children of Earth. We come from storms, from fire, from war. We asked for peace, and you laughed. Now we return, and the galaxy will learn what it means to awaken a world that never forgets." The chamber shook with murmurs. Some ministers tried to argue, shouting that humanity had no right to rise above the Council. Others begged for mercy. But their voices were drowned out by the sheer weight of the revelation before them. The hologram expanded again, and now it showed more than colonies and fleets. It showed battle simulations, alien warships attacking human vessels and failing, entire fleets collapsing in minutes, Council defenses falling in seconds. The simulations were cold, clinical, undeniable. They were not boasts, they were facts. Fear spread through the chamber. Generals who once spoke proudly of their fleets now sat trembling. Ministers who mocked humanity now stared at the floor. Civilians across the galaxy, watching through broadcasts, began to whisper a single truth. The galaxy had a new master. But then the soldier's tone changed. His words cut through the fear with an edge sharper than steel. "We do not come to enslave. We do not come to burn your worlds. We come to end the arrogance that has poisoned the stars. No species shall mock another. No voice shall be silenced. You will either accept this peace, or you will face judgment." The words spread like fire, reaching every corner of the galaxy. For some it was hope. For others, it was terror. Peace under humanity's shadow was still peace, but it was not a choice given freely. The chamber fell into silence again. The council chair struggled to speak, his voice shaking. "And if we refuse?" The human soldier lowered his visor again. His answer was cold and final. "Then you will learn why your fleets died without a fight." Outside, the armada shifted once more. Thousands of ships aligned, their weapons now glowing brighter, casting long beams of light across the skies. Civilians screamed, soldiers gripped their rifles tighter, and ministers froze in terror. The council chamber filled with a deep hum as the human fleet charged weapons in perfect unison. The skies above the capital blazed like fire, and the galaxy braced for humanity's final decision. The skies above the galactic capital blazed like fire. Thousands of human warships hung in formation, their weapons glowing brighter with each passing second. From the streets below, alien civilians cried out, pointing at the heavens. Some fell to their knees, others ran for shelter, though everyone knew no wall could protect them if the humans chose to strike. Inside the council chamber, the air was suffocating. Ministers sat frozen, their voices trapped in their throats. The hologram of the galaxy still hovered above the table, its stars glowing with the mark of Earth. Every leader knew now what they had refused to believe. Humanity was no longer a silent world on the edge of space. Humanity was a power spread across the stars, hidden in the shadows until this moment. The human soldiers stood in the center of the chamber, black visors hiding their faces. They did not move, did not speak. Only the echo of the human commander's last words lingered in the hall. Accept peace or face judgment. The council chair trembled as he rose from his seat. His silver skin shimmered with fear under the glow of the hologram. His voice cracked. If we accept your peace, what becomes of us? Will we be slaves? Will we be erased? The lead human soldier stepped forward. His visor lifted, revealing calm eyes, steady and unshaken. His voice carried across the chamber, low but commanding. You will not be slaves. You will not be erased. But you will no longer mock, no longer rule through arrogance. The galaxy will change, and humanity will be its guardian. His words echoed like a verdict. Around the chamber, ministers shifted uneasily. Some whispered that this was mercy. Others hissed that it was domination. Yet none dared raise their voices too loudly, for the hum of the human fleet's weapons outside grew stronger, filling the air with dread. One minister stood suddenly, his claws clenched. We will never bow to humans. Better to die than to live under their shadow. His words were bold, but his voice shook. He turned toward the council chair, demanding resistance. Before he could speak again, the chamber itself shook. The walls vibrated, the ground trembled. As a low thunder rolled through the skies, every screen lit up at once. The image was not of alien fleets or council defenses. It was the human armada, weapons fully charged, their glow flooding the void. The view zoomed closer, showing rows upon rows of warships, each one capable of erasing cities in a single strike. Then slowly, the targeting grids lit up across the capital world. Every tower, every fortress, every shield generator was marked in red. Panic erupted in the chamber. Ministers screamed, generals begged to act. Civilians across the world cried as the grids burned above their cities. But the human soldier raised one hand, and the chaos fell silent. His voice cut through the terror. This is not conquest, this is choice. Surrender to peace, or fall to judgment. The galaxy decides now. The chair looked around the chamber. His ministers cowered, his generals trembled, and the faces of his people appeared on screens, eyes wide with fear. He knew the truth. The council had mocked Earth for centuries, blind to its rise. Now they faced the cost of their arrogance. With a heavy breath, the chair bowed his head. We choose peace. The chamber fell silent. The ministers froze, some in shock, others in relief. Outside, the weapons of the human fleet dimmed, their glow fading until the skies returned to black. The thunder in the air vanished. Across the planet, the targeting grids disappeared. Humanity had accepted the choice, but the silence that followed was not victory. It was warning. The human soldier lowered his visor once more, his words final. Remember this day. Humanity ignored the galaxy for centuries, but no longer. The stars are watched. The balance is guarded. Break this peace and the guardians will return. The soldiers turned, leaving the chamber without another word. Their footsteps echoed, steady and calm, as the great doors closed behind them. The council leaders sat in stunned silence, their world spared, their pride shattered. Outside, the armada shifted, its warships pulling back into the void. One by one they vanished into the black, leaving only fear and awe behind. On every world, in every colony, across every empire, the message was the same. Humanity had returned. They had not come with demands for tribute or territory. They had come with power so vast, no empire could match it, and with a choice that no one dared refuse. In the dark beyond the stars, the 1,000 warships regrouped. Their engines burned faint blue as they vanished back into the silence of space. The galaxy trembled in their wake, for though they were gone, every race knew the truth. Humanity had revealed only a fraction of its strength. The shadow still hid more. As the last human ship disappeared into the void, an alien child whispered to her father, "Will they come back?" The father looked to the stars, his voice heavy with dread. "They never left.